Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, I will be talking about my daily tasks in a lot of detail as Senior Site Reliability Engineer or Senior SRE. So it's only been 6 months with the organization and I have already working on multiple projects. Okay, so I'm going to give you a lot of detail into what a Senior SRE does in a product-based company. So let's start the video. So if I talk about on a very high level, so we have multiple developer teams in India, mostly Java. So we need to support them with anything related to infrastructure. So for each of their applications in each of the environment, dev, QA and prod, they have CI/CD pipelines for code deployment. So whenever they have to push any code changes using these pipelines, if they're stuck on any issue or if the pipeline fails with any error, they can reach out to us and then we need to support them, especially in production. If it happens and if it has any impact, it can result in a high priority incident or HPI. So in that case, we have shorter deadlines. But yes, that's the core role, or you can say the primary role of an SRE, to be able to troubleshoot production pipeline based issues, or we can say production issues in general. Okay, so that's what I do on a very high level. And these developers, what I have seen is in Java they are using either Spring Boot or Spring MVC based applications. Okay, most of the applications are either Spring Boot or Spring MVC. So I need to support them with their application deployment issues. Okay, so this is on a very high level. Now let's talk about what I actually do on day to day. Okay, so if I talk about the issues related to CI/CD pipeline, what kind of issues do we see? So let's just talk about the pipeline stuff. I've already spoken about it in my last video. If you have not watched it, I've clearly explained what are the stages that I have in a real world CI/CD DevOps project. Okay, so you can watch that video if you want to understand that in a lot of detail. But let's talk about those pipeline stages here as well, so that we can understand what kind of troubleshooting I do as a senior SRE. So inside our CI/CD pipeline, we have various stages. If I talk about the stage 1, where we have platform checks, which basically means that we are going to check the status of the EKS clusters. So okay, before I talk about these stages, let's talk about on what kind of application setup we have, or what kind of infrastructure we have. Okay, so all our infrastructure is on AWS, and we are using Terraform as our IAC platform, and everything is automated here. Okay, there is nothing that is done manually. Even if you have to create an EC2 instance, it's done via Terraform automation script. Okay, so all our infrastructure is on AWS, and we are using GitLab as our CI platform. Okay, so GitLab is our CI platform where the code is compiled and built. Okay, and we are using Argo CD as our CD platform. So how the code moves from one stage to the other. Whenever the code moves to GitLab, so we are using GitLab for CI, and we also have our source code management. Okay, so GitLab CI, and I can write the source code management. It happens in GitLab only. So all our repos, all our service repos are in GitLab. Okay, in a private repository. Okay, so whenever the developer pushes any code change to the GitLab source code repositories, the pipeline triggers. Okay, the pipeline, it has various stages. Okay, so let's talk about those stages now in this. So as I mentioned, the applications are deployed into EKS clusters on AWS. Okay, so stage 1 is going to be platform check. First step is the status of the EKS cluster should be healthy. Only in that case the code is going to move from stage 1 to stage 2. Stage 2 is to validate, where we check the syntax of Docker file or any Kubernetes based manifests, or if we have some policies that apply to that. And also we have this security vulnerability management tool called Snyk, which we are using for SAST, which stands for static application security testing. So basically it checks the code related vulnerabilities here in stage 2. Okay, so if a pipeline fails with any of these two stages, then the developers reach out to me to fix their issue. Okay, it can be anything. It can be related to a Docker file syntax error also. It can be related to a Kubernetes manifest change also, though they don't do many changes in Kubernetes especially, but they might make a change to their Docker file, okay, which is very rare, but I'm just giving you one example. Or sometimes if a Snyk validation fails, in that case also the pipeline fails, and then also they can reach out to me. Okay, similarly after stage 2, when these two stages pass for the code change, stage 3 is to build the artifact. So we're using Maven here, okay, as the build tool. So once again, Maven can also fail sometimes, and generally if it fails at this stage, the application, the issue is related to application, okay, because it is relevant to their code that they're trying to deploy into this pipeline. Okay, but again we need to just check whatever we can. So all the logs are available on the GitLab CI platform in each of the job. Okay, that's a very good thing about this GitLab CI platform, that in each stage you will have one job created for each of these stages, and whatever happens step by step you can see all the logs. Okay, so we can clearly see if it's a piece of line, I mean if it's a line of code that is failing somewhere, we can see clearly in this GitLab stage job stage logs. Okay, and then we can just help them with that. Okay, that this piece of code is failing, so please take a look and try to fix it, and then rerun the pipeline. Okay, then if I talk about stage 4, stage 4 is where we build a Docker file. Okay, once again building a Docker file can also fail. Okay, and then once again we have to investigate accordingly and then help them resolve the issue. After the this Docker file is built, we also use this we use this Docker file to build our container image, and then that image is also used inside a Helm chart. Okay, and then both the built image and Helm chart is pushed to ECR. So we have our container registry set up in AWS inside ECR. Okay, so everything happens there. Then in stage 5, after the image is pushed, we have Snyk tool integration into our GitLab CI pipeline. So after the image is pushed, we also have this step where we have integrated Snyk tool. So it's going to scan this new image for any vulnerabilities and report them on an email. Okay, and then we need to see what type of vulnerabilities are reported, or if there are no vulnerabilities reported, then this stage is going to get passed and it's going to move to the next stage, which is to promote to dev cluster. Okay, and then we are going to deploy this particular new image which is in ECR to our dev cluster. This is how the pipeline works up to dev. Okay, and then as I mentioned in my last video, I use different folders in the same source code repository which we have for any application. So there we have integration, like if you are moving the code to dev pipeline, then it's going to go to dev only, and then after that we can use the same version in dev. So we don't create any new versions in QA and prod. Okay, whatever version we have in dev, like all the testing done on that version only, all the things are done on dev, and then when we are satisfied, we deploy the same Helm chart version from dev to dev, from dev to QA, and then in QA we have a lot of tests happen, so we have a separate testing team available. Then once the testing is successful, then we move that same version from QA to prod. This is how it happens. Okay, so we don't create any new versions in QA and prod. We use the same version from dev to QA to prod. Okay, this is how it happens. Okay, here. So this is about the different pipeline stages, which I've already spoken about in my last video, but I just wanted to give you a little introduction into this video as well. Now let's go back to our CI/CD pipeline. So you know how the pipeline works. Okay, so issues are related to either AWS. Okay, because sometimes there's a resource that is created in AWS that is causing a problem. For example, some secret, because for a secrets management we're using AWS secrets manager service. So if anything related to secret, then we have to go to AWS. Okay, and then we have to check if it's related to secret, or if we have to create a new secret, or that secret is not able to call being not able to call by the pipeline. Okay, in a particular stage. So it depends on what kind of issue we have, so we have to troubleshoot accordingly. Then I've mentioned Jenkins here. So Jenkins is being used as our platform for test jobs. Okay, so inside the pipeline, whatever test jobs are there. Okay, here if you see in the pipeline, I did not mention because those tests are managed by the developers themselves. Okay, but sometimes what happens after the build artifact, okay, they will have some tests that are pushed from their end to the code. Okay, and then we have this integration between our GitLab CI platform and Jenkins as well. Okay, so if we need to run some tests which are there in Jenkins, we can do that. Okay, so in that case, sometimes the test jobs fail. Okay, and then we have to go to our Jenkins platform and check why the job failed using those console output. Okay, and other logs that are available on Jenkins. But recently we are trying to move away from Jenkins, and we want to do this test jobs stuff in GitLab itself. Okay, so we are working on migrating our Jenkins test jobs to GitLab. I'll talk about it in my later slides as well. So AWS, then Jenkins, then GitLab CI, as I mentioned in. So this is our main platform where we have not all the stages, but I mean all the stages for CI are configured in GitLab. So it's going to give us all the details of the stages and the different logs that are available to troubleshoot. So that's how we start troubleshooting the issues in GitLab CI. Okay, and it is also used as our source code management platform as well. Okay, so all our source code repositories are in GitLab. Then Terraform, as I mentioned, all the things are automated via Terraform script. So Terraform and GitLab. So whenever we are running any pipeline, it's going to use Terraform as a tool, and we have this integration set up already by the platform team, where the GitLab stage job can call a Terraform and can run a Terraform apply command as well. Okay, a Terraform apply command to create any new resources as part of the pipeline itself. Okay, so that type of integration has already been done. So in our pipeline, then we also have Argo CD as a CD platform. So after we have these stages completed up to here, up to this stage, okay, stage 5, then we have to deploy our new image to EKS clusters. For that we are using Argo CD. Okay, so once again we have access to Argo CD UI as well. So if any issue occurs, if you want to check take a look at the pod logs. So sometimes what happens, the pod is deployed, okay, inside EKS cluster by Argo CD, but the pod is failing, it is not healthy. Okay, so you can check all that in Argo CD. Okay, so you can see all the resources in Argo CD like pods, config maps, stateful sets, if you have any other resources. So all those resources are clearly visible in Argo CD, and you can check the logs also. You can check the live manifest that is being used there, and you can just identify what kind of issue is there. You also have the list of events that happen with each of these resources on Argo CD. So it's a very good platform. Again, if you want to take a look at the logs, okay, apart from GitLab, you can also check the logs in Argo CD as well. Okay, and then as I mentioned, all our applications are deployed in AWS EKS clusters. Okay, so AWS EKS cluster is our deployment platform. So sometimes we have to check a few things in EKS as well. So we have access to AWS account. Okay, and we can check all the things in AWS UI. Then, as I mentioned, we are using Snyk tool. So how the Snyk tool is used, though it is integrated into pipeline as well, but if you want to run a few scans manually also, you have access to this tool, and you can configure any application repository to be scanned for any code related vulnerabilities. So I'm talking about SAST here. Okay, the static scan. So uh, what it does is, because we are using Java based application, and most of the applications are either Spring Boot or Spring MVC, we have this pom.xml file basically, which has all the dependent libraries of the application. So all those are scanned via Snyk tool, okay, for any vulnerabilities. Okay, apart from that, it also scans other stuff, other source code files as well, but this pom.xml file is the main file which we want to scan with Snyk tool and identify the security vulnerabilities and fix them, and then build our Docker image, which can be used in production especially. Okay, then next, if I talk about observability. Okay, so in observability, we're using Prometheus Mimir as our data source and Grafana as our visualization tool. So what we do here, we get requests to create dashboards. Okay, it can be any dashboard. It can be an application specific dashboard. It can be a cluster specific dashboard. And within the dashboard, we create multiple panels, okay, depending on what kind of metrics the application is looking for. So they can raise Jira tickets to us, and then we're going to look into it, and then we're going to create the different type of dashboards for them and let them know that this dashboard is available on this URL. So you can take a look, review it, and let us know if you need any changes to it. Okay, so we create a lot of dashboards related to container metrics like CPU utilization, memory utilization. In terms of Java, we have the sum of API requests, and if the application is seeing any 400 errors or 500 errors, so we have the dashboard panels for that. We also have the dashboards related to JVMs, okay, heap memory, and other things. Okay, all that is there. So all those type of dashboard panels we create for these teams, okay, depending on the request that we get. Then also we create alerts also. So similarly, we can create alerts related to these different dashboard panels that we have created for the application. So for example, the application team needs an alert to be created when the number of containers for a particular application running goes below 3 or 2. It can be any count. Okay, so in that case, we can get an alert for them. Similarly, if the container memory utilization goes over 95%, they want to be alerted for that. So we can create all that using the Grafana alerting tool. So we have a Grafana to create these alerts and dashboards. Okay, depending on the request, we can create any number of alerts. And right now we are creating these alerts manually because in Terraform we are seeing a bug. Okay, we were using Terraform as well, but we saw a bug that is getting a lot of problems for different teams. So we are trying to get these alerts manually, and we have another team called a platform team that is working on fixing this bug in Terraform script. So once we have that fixed, then we're going to create all these alerts via that Terraform script. Okay, I just wanted to let you know the current status right now. But all our dashboards and alerts are in Grafana. And data source, we are using Prometheus Mimir. Okay, which means that this is the platform which is able to fetch the metrics from the application and send it to us on Grafana that we can use to create our dashboards and alerts. The next is vulnerability management. So as I mentioned, we're using Snyk tool for SAST, static application security testing, which basically means that you are trying to find vulnerabilities in the code lines, okay, the lines of code. So as I mentioned, the most important file is pom.xml, okay, since we're using Java based applications. But apart from that, we have other source code files as well. So we can configure any Snyk scan in those application repositories, and it's going to scan the entire repository and report us of any vulnerabilities that we can uh, later try to fix. Okay, so it depends on the type of vulnerability. If it's related to code only, then it's going to be fixed by the application team. If it's related to some package in some base image inside a Docker file, then it is up to us to identify that and remediate it, and then let them know that this vulnerability has been fixed, and now you can go with your code changes. Okay, then we also have another tool called BrightSec, which is used for dynamic application security testing. So I haven't received much work related to this, but some applications are already using it. Okay, so this is for dynamic scanning. So basically we are using it to scan any web URLs that are there for the application. Okay, but I haven't received much work related to that, but this tool still exists in our infrastructure somewhere. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that these two are the tools that we are using for security vulnerability management. Then tool migrations. Okay, so this is my the most important projects that I'm working on apart from troubleshooting the CI/CD pipelines as of now. So what has happened recently, that we are trying to move away from the this continuous delivery tool called Spinnaker. So as I mentioned, we have Argo CD now, but a few months ago we were using Spinnaker as our continuous delivery platform. So Spinnaker is another tool which can be used for continuous delivery. So I drive this entire project where I moved all the applications from Spinnaker to Argo CD. Okay, so how it happens that you will have some set of steps that you have to perform in the application repositories to move your application pipelines from Spinnaker to Argo CD. So earlier on we had this continuous delivery pipeline in Spinnaker. Okay, a few months ago. Now we have that set up in Argo CD. So how it happened? We just had to make some changes to a few infrastructure related files in the application repos to point our pipelines to Argo CD instead of Spinnaker. Okay, so this work has been completed for all the applications now. So all applications are using Argo CD and not Spinnaker, but this was our earlier platform. Okay, so I was working on this tool migration. Another tool migration that I was part of is the metrics. So earlier on we were using Datadog for our application metrics. Okay, but now we have moved to Prometheus Mimir, and we are visualizing everything on Grafana. So once again, I was part of this migration, and once again inside your application repos you will get a set of steps that you have to perform in various files related to application and infrastructure. Once you do that, you deploy a pipeline. It's going to send your metrics to another tool. Okay, so here I'm using Prometheus Mimir as a data source, and I'm visualizing everything on Grafana. Okay, so but earlier on we were using Datadog for both data source and visualization. We were using Datadog, but now we are using Grafana. These changes came after we found that Datadog and Spinnaker are not security compliant tools. Okay, they have some stuff that is not compliant in terms of security. So, and also it is very costly also. Okay, Spinnaker and Datadog are costlier as compared to Argo CD and Prometheus Mimir. Okay, so that is why we wanted to move away from these two tools. So recently we have migrated our metrics platform from Datadog to Grafana. Then in terms of log aggregation also, we had this tool called Sumo Logic, which we were using for all the logs for the applications. Now we have moved to another log aggregation tool called Grafana Loki, and once again it is faster and it is cheaper, and it is more leaned towards security compliance as well. Okay, so I have worked on these three. Okay, since it's only been 6 months in this organization, so I have already worked on these three tool migrations. So for log aggregation, we have moved away from Sumo Logic to Grafana Loki. So now all our logs are appearing in Grafana Loki, and Sumo Logic has been completely decommissioned. Then another migration that I just spoke about a few minutes ago is Jenkins to GitLab CI for test jobs. So whatever test jobs we have for all the applications, Okay, they are on Jenkins, and we want to move to GitLab CI. So this is a project that is currently in progress, and we are still working on it. So now after this, Jenkins will be decommissioned completely, and all our test jobs will be executed in GitLab after this migration. Okay, so these are the 4 tool migrations that I am working on. Then last project is AWS cost optimization. So once again, as an SRE or a DevOps engineer, it's pretty important if you're able to optimize the cost for your organization. So this project has not started, but I have seen some documentation around this, which I'll be working on in a few months time. So we have EKS clusters, so we have to do cost optimization inside EKS clusters. We have S3 buckets, and we have some other AWS resources as well, where we have to try to perform cost optimization and save some money for the organization. Okay, so these are the things, the day-to-day tasks that I do as senior SRE. Okay, as I mentioned, it's only been 6 months. So yep, so these are the real tasks that I do as SRE. So I think you can imagine now what kind of work you can expect as an SRE. Okay, if you have any doubts, anything you did not understand, please reach out to me in the comment section, and I'll be happy to assist you. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye for now.